Madam Mayor, we are now live and recording. You may begin the meeting whenever you wish.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Welcome everyone to our regular council meeting, today, September 15th. Before we begin, I just want to remind everybody in the chambers and in the room and online that the meeting is being recorded and streamed live to the Township's YouTube channel. We will likely have participants joining us from both Zoom as well as in the chambers. As is always the case, please raise your hand. If you wish to speak on an item, I will call on you at the appropriate time. We will now call the roll, starting with Deputy Mayor Nelson, Councillor Watt, Councillor Johnston, Councillor Landsman, hello, and of course myself, Heather Watson. And then we have a number of staff joining us. I won't name everybody until they're at the time that they're presenting, but I do want to call out that we do have our acting clerk joining us this evening, Patty O'Grady, and this is your second time sitting on the bench for us. So thank you very much for your support this evening. So with quorum of council in attendance, I will call the meeting to order, and I'll start with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the lands which are part of the 1818 Treaty 20 and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe bands of the Great Ojibwe Nation. We offer our gratitude to the Ojibwe for their care and knowledge of the lands on which we work, live, and enjoy. May we honor and respect their teaching and our treaty obligations as we grow together. And we will now just pause for a moment of silent reflection. Okay. Moving along, council, of course, the agenda was distributed to all of you last week, and I'm sure you've had an opportunity to review. We've not seen any disclosure of pecuniary interest come in thus far, but I will also ask the question now if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Do you have anything to declare? No. Okay, seeing nothing, just looking for an adoption of the agenda then. That's moved by Councillor Johnston, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to item number 6, the adoption of the minutes and business arising from the minutes, just our minutes from September 2nd, looking for a motion to receive the amended minutes. Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Landsman. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. We have 3 items on consent. Is there any item on the file or under consent that a member of council would like to pull to speak to later on in the agenda? Seeing nothing, then just a motion to receive those. Councillor Johnston, seconded by Councillor Landsman. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to delegations, and we do have a couple on the agenda. We have a presentation first, starting with Nicole Cameron from Engage Engineering on the 2025 road needs study. Mr. Connor, are you going to preface this report, or shall we just bring Ms. Cameron up to speak, or come on up?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council and staff. Thank you for having me here. My name is Nicole Cameron, and I work with Engage Engineering out of Peterborough, and we were the consultant that was awarded the 2025 road needs study for Douro-Dummer this year. So this is an overview and summary. I'll walk you through what we did. The 2025 road needs study was prepared for the Township of Douro-Dummer, and this report is considered a modified update to the previous study completed in 2021. The current study was completed in accordance with the inventory manual for municipal roads and published by MTO, which is the standard guideline for road needs studies in the province and is consistent with previous study formats. Douro-Dummer's road network includes a total of 260 kilometers of road, 144 are gravel, 109 kilometers are surface treated, and 7 kilometers are made up of asphalt. One of the modified components of the road needs study this year was the addition of sidewalk and storm sewer inventory. Existing concrete sidewalks were included in the field review and have been added into the master inventory spreadsheet. The Township of Douro-Dummer road network includes approximately 2.8 linear kilometers of concrete sidewalk, and existing sidewalk sections that are uncompliant with accessibility standards have been proposed for reconstruction within the timeframe of 1 to 5 years within the report. The road network also includes approximately 2.6 linear kilometers of storm sewer and 54 storm structures. The high-level cost of improvements has been developed based on 2025 contract unit cost and street-level field review. Prior to undertaking this study, the following objectives were identified in consultation with the township. Provide the township with road inventory data sufficient to meet the current and future reporting requirements of OREG 588-17, asset management planning for municipal infrastructure for roads. Also to identify the need for rehabilitation or reconstruction improvements and the associated costs with those. To establish a simple mechanism to determine the annual works program. To determine the need for each road section, including the recommended improvement, the time of need, and the construction costs. And finally, to prioritize the recommended improvements and establish a 10-year capital expenditure plan that can be used for planning and budgeting purposes. The study methodology followed MTO inventory manual for municipal roads, and it included the following elements. Started with a field review and assessment of all road sections within the inventory. We then entered all of the data of the condition rating information for each section and the pavement condition index information for all low-class bituminous and high-class bituminous road sections. There was analysis of the condition information that followed, which updates the traffic and cost data. We developed the recommended improvement for each road section based on those inputs. We prepared the recommended improvement plan for preventative maintenance, resurfacing, and rehabilitation. And finally, we developed the recommended 10-year capital funding plan. Part of our scope of work for this 2025 update was developing a road needs study map. So can't quite see it on here, but each road section has a color-coded legend that relates to the surface being gravel, low-class bituminous, or high-class bituminous, and it identifies the road section. So we did the field work without a guide of how to get around all the roads in the township, although we did have the snowplow routes, which was helpful, but for future subsequent reports, this will be really helpful to your consultant. So the recommended 10-year capital expenditure plan, using the recommended improvement plan for resurfacing and rehabilitation projects, a recommended 10-year capital expenditure plan was created. This plan was prepared to assist the township in planning and budgeting for road improvements over the next 10 years. In preparing the recommended 10-year capital plan, the total annual expenditures were constrained by the approximate current baseline road funding level of $1.5 million. This calculated value is based on the average budget over the past 3 years. If additional funds are available, projects can be brought forward from future years to make use of available funds and replace with projects using the prioritized improvement plan. The total capital needs identified in this study are $15.5 million over 10 years. Of this total, 1.3 million are required now, 6 million are required in the 1 to 5 year horizon, and 8.2 million are required in the 6 to 10 year horizon. So just to summarize a few of those numbers, the annual capital requirement is 1.55 million. The annual capital received averaged over the past 3 years has been 1.521 million. So we recommend increasing the budget to match the requirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I will now hand it over to council with any questions that they may have, unless, Jake, did you want to pipe in, or we're just gonna let it go? We're good? Okay. Deputy Mayor, use your mic, please.
Thanks a lot for your presentation and all the work that you have done on doing the road needs study. My question is a little bit different of a question, but what is the rating, overall rating of our roads or average? Maybe you know that number, or maybe you can tell me what that overall average would be for a rating?
So it probably is here, but what I recall is compared to others, it is quite high. Your roads are in very good condition, and I don't see a huge difference between the capital improvement plan and what you have. Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. So in general, yes, I would say that the rating was very good. I believe the pavement condition index was in the 80s, which is an incredible rating for your high-class bituminous and low-class bituminous roads.
Maybe I for a sec.
Did I show?
There we go. I got a mic. Thank you. Sorry, guys. I just to pull the number, I did grab that because I was going to ask for follow-up on that as well. The overall weighted condition, the overall average for the weighted condition rating is 77, which is up from 69 in 2021 was the number, just to clarify. And I'm assuming that that's the rating that you were referring to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. I just wanted the public to know that that's our rating of our roads, and when it didn't come out in your assessment, it came out in your assessment, but not in your presentation tonight. So I was just, which I'm very happy about. That's an excellent, we can keep our roads in 80%, we're doing very well. And a lot of that bitmus, that high class bitmus went down not too long ago. So we expect them ratings to stay high until they start to probably drop off. But anyways, thanks for that. One more follow-up question, if I may. I believe the last study did not include also the low-class bitmus, the ratings that or the way the evaluations that was done now on low-class bitmus was never ever done before, I don't believe, in this township. So I'm very happy with them results. Further to that though, was there any roads that we noticed throughout the study that have been done, say, within the last 5 years and didn't get as good a higher rating? Because I'm concerned about the quality of the low-class bitmus that we're actually receiving. So how was your findings in that? Or maybe you can't answer that, but that's my question.
Through you, Madam Mayor, specifically the rating of the low-class bituminous.
Yes.
So drove all these roads within 4 days, 5 months ago. I don't recall, Councillor, exactly what the rating of the LCB was overall. I may have to follow up with you on that one.
And that's fine. I'm sorry for being so difficult, but I'm just curious, what them findings was compared to, other times, and the whole evaluation of low-class litmus is a lot different. That's why I've asked that question.
Right, and so through you again, Madam Mayor, that rating of 77, that's the pavement condition index. And what did I say, the ratio? So in my first slide, we've got 109 kilometers of surface treated, which is the LCB, and only 7 kilometers of the HCB. So I would say that that rating of 77 is a direct correlation to the 109 kilometers of low-class bituminous.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Councillor Watt?
Thank you very much, Nicole. In the one slide here, it says that we're looking at $1.3 million now and 1.55 a year going on. So is the 1.3 for this year like we need that we're going to spend this year, or is that kind of doubled up to make it 2.8 for 2026?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Great question, Councillor. So some of the roads that we reviewed were also concurrent to roads that were being upgraded within 2025. So we have included them in this report. We have noted construction to be in 2025. I believe the previous report would have covered through 2025, and the intention was for these funds to begin in 2026.
Councillor Johnston?
Yeah, again, thanks for the report. I must say that two things. One is that we have to sit back and look and thank our road super for coming up with the job on the roads that's been being done lately. We must say that's very rewarding on his part, and also for council for putting away the money that we put in our budgets for the road. It might show that we're down a little bit, but on the other hand, she's tough these days to do a lot of things. So I must say, council deserves a lot of credit for being able to put away the money that we have put away. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor. Any other questions of our presenter? Seeing nothing, we are just looking for a motion to receive and accept the report with thanks. Councillor Watt, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. And thank you very much for your time. Okay, moving on our agenda, we have a delegation from Kevin Arrington from the Market on Stony Lake, and I believe he is here to join us. On Zoom, that is.
I am. Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm actually traveling right now and pulled off to the side of the road to do this. So is that coming through all right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Arrington. Welcome. And just a reminder that your delegation is 10 minutes. And then any time that council may have for questions afterwards. So you can begin when you're ready.
Awesome. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kevin Arrington. I'm one of the owners of the Market on Stony Lake at 2374 Crow's Landing Road. I'm speaking for myself and on behalf of my business partner, Nelson Lang, who cannot attend tonight, but fully aligns with this submission. We weren't strangers to this lake or to building restaurants at all when we purchased the market in November of 2021. Nelson had been cottaging on Stony since 2015, and I'd been spending time recreationally in the area for about 15 years. Professionally, we've delivered restaurant projects across Canada and internationally. We know what a normal building process looks like. What's happened on our simple renovation is not normal, and it's actually wildly abnormal, and we believe it needs to go on record. Over the last 4 years, we've experienced 5 different inspectors providing contradictory directions on our file. One who was even terminated by the township for ongoing issues. We've experienced 3 stop work orders, at least some which were issued unlawfully. which locked us out of our own building for over a year unnecessarily. We've had documented police attendants escorting building inspectors as a sign of intimidation on at least 2 occasions. We've also experienced the outsourcing of our file to now a third-party contractor, which has been engaged not to fix any of the problems that existed between us, but to manufacture new ones. And when the records contradicted staff, we've been met with $1,500 an hour law firms to contest us, paid by the taxpayers, to defend what is arguably indefensible. The consequences are real. Our project has been frozen. Our investment has been harmed. Local jobs delayed, tax revenue lost, and a community landmark sits idle when it should be serving residents and visitors. We have preserved everything, all video, audio, emails, site notes. Our summary file now exceeds 250 pages, which document 135 discrete incidents that contradict the Building Code Act, township policies, the Charter of Rights, and in some cases, even conduct that is outside of the law. I'm here to put council on notice on the public record. The building department's approach to our file has become a weapon and not a public service. And I'm going to prove this to you guys through just the most recent and verifiable example through the misuse of RSM consultants and the authority that they've been expressing. On May 6th, 2025, as recorded in the official minutes of the regular council meeting in section 10.3, council approved the CBO's request to appoint designated inspectors, specifically RSM building consultants, but with a very clear direction. As written, and I quote from your minutes, council directs the CBO to utilize the services of RSM consultants for the issuance of building permits when required. Those words matter. Issuance of permits, a narrow, separable function under the building code, not inspections, not enforcement, issuance only. In the recorded video of that meeting, the chief building official, Mr. Don Hellman, confirmed the intent of his request repeatedly regarding the contracting of RSM. Timestamp 12104, Don cited the intended use of RSM was the issuance of permits, end quote. At 12450, Don reconfirms the intent of RSM building consultants is the issuance of permits, full stop. At 12630, in response to the mayor's concern about scope creep, RSM will not be included in inspections, period. The intent is issuance, full quote. At 1:30:58, the clerk, Martina, after the mayor asked her to read back the approval, Martina also cites the issuance of permits only as documented in the township minutes. The documents mismatch and the timing concerns are quite evident. We recently finally received a copy of the bylaw 2025-18 from the clerk, just recently, last week actually, and based on plain eye review, we have serious concerns that the document we received is not the original version that was approved on May 6, 2025. It shows visually obvious irregularities and does not reflect what Mr. Hellman presented to council for approval, nor what the official minutes record as council's intent, namely the issuance of permits only. This is consistent with well-documented difficulty we had obtaining any copy before the August 5th meeting. We are not speculating about motive tonight. We are simply stating that the text and form we were given appear amended after the fact and inconsistent with council's intended direction. Despite that explicit, narrow authority, Mr. Hellman informed us by email that RSM would begin conducting inspections and effectively be taking over our file as the township's official inspector. We challenged this authority based on council's direction and asked for the bylaw authorizing the inspections. No proof was produced, and Don Hellman specifically said that there would be no debate on the issue. However, on July 16th, a day before the first official inspection conducted on our property by RSM building consultants, Mr. Hellman wrote in an email, Bylaw 2025-18 appoints certain staff members of RSM as inspectors for the township. Nevertheless, I will be asking council to confirm the use of those listed as inspectors via a revised resolution. If Don required council to confirm inspection authority and a revised resolution at that time, then RSM did not have the authority in May or July to be conducting inspections or doing anything other than issuing permits as directed by council. I actually believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the deputy mayor during the August 5th meeting, after Don had requested for the authority to be expanded by for RSM to now act as inspectors, that he believed the town had more than enough inspectors on staff and RSM should be a last resort only, clearly pointing out that council was not aware RSM had already been weaponized against our file. Yet on July 17th, RSM presented President Gerald Moore attended our an inspection at our site and signed a paper, even signed a paper declaring authority to act as a full inspector on behalf of the township. They then proceeded to issue deficiency lists, including items that were premature and not yet in scope, items that had already been approved by other township inspectors that were still employed, and items concerning areas RSM never even entered or inspected, which is well outside lawful inspection practice. On August 5th, Mr. Hellman returned to council seeking to clarify and expand RSM's authority to include inspections, which confirms that before August 5th, RSM did not have council's authority to inspect. Despite this, RSM has now even issued orders to comply against us, which is an extraordinary enforcement tool intended for serious, substantiated life safety issues, not minor, premature, or speculative items. Council is left with only two possibilities to consider, and both are unacceptable. Either the CBO misrepresented RSM's intended scope in order to obtain council approval on May 6th, or the CBO has blatantly disregarded council's specific direction and expanded RSM's role to include inspections without authority, placing the township at substantial legal risk.
Mr.
Either
Aaron,
way, yep,
just one more minute left in your delegation. sir.
either way, public trust has been eroded. I'll skip over here to what I'm asking for tonight. I'm asking council to take 5 concrete actions. Number 1, immediately stand down, direct staff that RSM is not to conduct inspections or issue orders on our file unless or until a council expressly authorizes them to do so. Number 2, independent file review, bringing commission an independent building code authority who is not RSM to audit our file, matching an alleged deficiency to the OBC, the approved scope and the actual phase of work, and to identify any retaliatory or premature enforcement. Just bear with me for one more minute, Mayor, if you will. Number 3, produce the original enactment record. Direct the clerk to produce for council and the public record the original executed bylaw package as of May 6, 2025, signed bylaw, seal, enactment date, the clerk's certification, resolution number, etc. Number 4, public report back within 30 days. Please direct the CAO to table a public report within 30 days detailing when and how RSM was used on our file, under what authority each action was taken, the budget impacts, including any departures from the budget that was issued on May 6, 2025. And number 5, lastly, a good faith path to completion by directing the CBO to convene within 10 days a case resolution meeting with township inspectors authorized by council with our design team and the independent reviewer to establish a clear code-based checklist and timetable to reach final occupancy.
Okay, thank you for your delegation, Mr. Arrington. I'm just going to open up the floor now for council if they have any questions of you for clarification. Council, any questions of Mr. Arrington this afternoon? Mr. Johnston, Councilor Johnston.
The only, through the chair, the only question I would have is more of a comment. What you asked for those 5 points at the end, I would, there was a lot there to swallow, a lot more than I understand. So I would want to see something like that on paper where we can, at least I can look at them and see what your concerns are at this moment. And all I can say is that it's very unfortunate in our township that this is going on. we have other people in the audience tonight that are doing subdivisions, and I sure wouldn't want them to hear what's going on with the situations that we've had in the past. And anyways, all I'm going to say is that I hope we can somehow get this rectified to get on with real life. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Arrington, it looked as if you're reading from some prepared notes for yourself. Is it
I was.
possible when you're able in a safe environment and can get your computer out to email those 5 requests?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want, I'll just send the whole thing over for review. That can be passed around to council if that's okay. Because there are some points in here that I wasn't able to get to. I apologize. I wasn't speaking fast enough, I guess.
Understood. That can come through to our clerk, who you were working with when you scheduled the delegation for this evening, and we appreciate your willingness to do that. Any other questions from council? Seeing nothing further, then just looking for a motion to receive. Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Johnston. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay, on to item number 9, the public comment period. Madam Clerk, it's my understanding that we had nobody register to speak to any of the items on the agenda. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, that is correct.
Wonderful, thank you. So then on to our staff reports, and starting with the report and capital project status. Just looking for any questions of staff on that particular report before we put a motion forward to receive that. Nothing? Then just looking for a motion to receive. Councillor Johnston, we'll move that. Seconded by Councillor Landsman. All in favor? And that motion carries. On to item 10.2, the Douro second line speed reduction, brought to us by Mr. Condon, Manager of Public Works.
Thank you, through the chair. The recommendation before you is the report, Public Works 2025-05, dated September 15th, 2025, regarding the Douro second line speed can be received. And first, council, approve reducing the speed limit on Douro second line 80 kilometers an hour to 50 kilometers an hour between County Road 8 and Division Road. And further, that staff be requested to bring forward a bylaw to amend bylaw 2018-9, consolidated road speed, as amended at the next council meeting. And staff install the required sign and issue public notice of the change once the bylaw is adopted. At a previous council meeting on June 3rd, 2025, council requested staff to investigate and report back the possibility of reducing the speed limit to 60 kilometers an hour on Douro second line. The Douro second line corridor includes 2 major recreation facilities, the Douro North Park and South Park. Collectively, these parks include a wide range of amenities, including 2 ball diamonds, soccer fields, pickleball, tennis court, picnic areas, swimming amenities. The increased demand combined with turning movements at park entrances has amplified safety concerns, highlighting the need for speed management measures along this section of roadway. The financial impact would be limited. It would just be limited to the cost of replacing and installing the regulatory speed sign on that section of road. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Condon. Any questions on the report that's before you, Council? Councillor Johnston looks like he's got something to say.
Yeah, I do. I would like to make a motion through the chair, make a motion to receive the recommendation and continue with this signage on the road, lowering the speed.
Okay, I will come back to you to take your motion formally. I have a question of Mr. Condon. I just want to make sure council, if they have any further questions on the report. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, through the chair. Jake, just wondering what ended up being the traffic counts, the average daily traffic count on the road?
just bear with me. It is in the report. I believe it was around 340 to 350 average cars a day.
And that's probably increase during, when the kids have soccer on and there's baseball games going on. I don't know how long you had the traffic counters on, but I'm just thinking that number would probably go up from what your traffic count was, during the festivities and times, and especially, the Douro-Doings that just went on here a couple of weeks ago. Them numbers would be way over that amount of cars, I would think, during that time. I fully support in reducing the speed limit on the section, and I think it's for public safety and the kids and everything. There's a lot of stuff happening there when there's a soccer game on, and anyways, yeah, to just reduce the speed would be, I think, great for the public. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff before I turn it on? Okay, Mr. Cronin, just a question with respect to the North Park. I know that in the past, prior to sometime this summer, there were a lot of vehicles parking on the road because parking within the park was limited. And I know this year council invested in increasing the size and the parking lot space. I'm wondering if you've noticed or when the traffic counts were done. It looks like it was in July, but I don't know when that parking lot was done in relation to that. I mean, I certainly think that there's a safety issue with when that's added in. So did these traffic counts take that into consideration? Because I feel people, I know I do, when you're driving through that area and there are lots of cars in the road because of soccer or whatever's going on, people would inherently slow down because there's a lot of kind of in between. But I'm just wondering when that was in timing.
Through the chair, I'm not sure when the actual parking lot was completed. The counts wouldn't necessarily change whether there was cars parked on the road or not, but and I'm not sure of the total capacity of the new parking lot, whether we would still have the odd car or a few cars parked on the side of the road. So unfortunately, I can't answer that for you, but I see the CAO's got his hand up. He might be able to answer.
Okay, and I'll come back over to you for a second, but just to be clear, so I don't normally look at traffic count reports, so forgive me, I might not be looking at the right thing, but I'm seeing on the report that it's showing like speed information too, right? That's more, obviously I know the counts wouldn't change when people are parked on the road, but I'm wondering if the speed would change if the cars are parked on the road. And were we tracking speed data or no?
Through the chair, yes, this is tracking speed data. But unfortunately, I don't know what time of day the events are planned or taking place at the park. So I can't speak to that when or how they change.
I understand.
Unless, you know,
You don't have that layer of data added in. Okay. CAO Davis.
Through the chair, back to the mayor, just to sort of, from the timing perspective, what I can say is that the work on the parking lot was done in the month of June prior to the July long weekend, in particularly prior to big events that were being hosted at the park. So I believe that the parking lot was actually in place prior to us capturing, the speed. I think the speeds were done in July, or the numbers were done in July. So as Manager Conan has said, the reality is we don't know exactly like what the mix is of on the road versus in the park parking at this particular moment, but it would still capture the cars going up and down the roads.
Thank you for that. Okay, I will go back over to Councillor Johnston for your motion. It sounds like I don't know if you want to reread your motion or have the clerk read it out for you.
Yeah, to the chair. You want to read down what I mentioned in the motion?
Through you, Chair, Councillor Johnson, if you could summarize again what you had for me.
Okay, to the chair again. I just made the motion to follow the recommendation that we would continue on to make a bylaw and to get the signs prepared to be installed. And I guess that has to come back to the next council meeting.
Okay, Councillor Lansman will second that. I'm just making sure the clerk has this well documented.
Through you, Chair. So I'm going to read this out loud and you tell me if this sounds what you're thinking. That council approved reducing the speed limit on Douro second line from 80 kilometers to 60 kilometers between County Road 8 and Division Road, making a bylaw to have the signs reinstalled.
Right. Or we just say follow the recommendation.
Councillor Lansman, just on the microphone, please.
Does that include the signage? Because I think when it was first, when Councillor Johnson made the motion, it did include the signage and changing it. And I didn't, possibly it was me, I didn't hear it in the reading of the motion.
I think we're all just looking to move the recommendation. Yeah. Let's just make it a little simpler. I think the recommendation covers exactly what we're looking for, that we're receiving the report, that we're reducing the speed limit from 80 to 60, that we're bringing forward a bylaw, and that staff install the required signage and issue public notice. So I think we should be covered with that. So is that okay with the mover and the seconder? Both? Okay, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to item 10.3, future gravel resources, and that's back over to you, Mr. Condon.
Thank you. Through the chair, the recommendation before you is that the Works Report 2025-06 dated September 15th, 25 regarding future gravel resources be received for information, and further that staff be directed to continue discussions with Drain Brothers Construction Limited regarding potential aggregate resources on the 6-line road South Dummer, and report back to council with findings and recommendations. A brief overview: the town currently operates a gravel pit on the 6-line South Dummer, which has provided a reliable source of aggregate material for our road maintenance and capital projects. However, staff have identified that the available reserves in this pit are limited and that long-term planning is now required. Drain Brothers Limited owns a licensed pit across the road from the township, the current township. Given its proximity, the site may offer an opportunity for future gravel aggregate supply. Preliminary and formal discussions with representatives of Drain Brothers indicate interest in exploring opportunities for collaboration with the township. At this stage, there's no direct financial impact. Any further arrangement drains would be subject to negotiation through council, so council would be aware of any future movement on this. That's about it. So if there's any questions, and
Thank you very much, Mr. Condon. Any questions on the report? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no questions, but whenever you're ready, more than happy to move the recommendation.
Just a quick eyeball of the table. Any other questions, and we can get Deputy Mayor to make the motion? Okay, so Deputy Mayor is moving the recommendation.
Yes, I'm going to move the recommendation if that's okay.
Yep, and who would like to second that? Councillor Lansman, any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to the zoning bylaw for the Clancy subdivision, and for that, we are going to go to Ms. Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. The subject of the report before you is zoning bylaw amendment file number R0821, which pertains to plan of subdivision file number 15T21006, otherwise known as the Clancy subdivision. The subject property located at 162 County Road 4 is an existing lot of record, which has an area of approximately 28.61 hectares, together with approximately 20.93 meters of frontage along County Road 4. At present, the property is zoned rural and is developed for residential use in the form of a single detached dwelling and a detached garage. The remainder of the property is undeveloped, comprising agricultural lands and non-evaluated wetlands. The application before you proposes to rezone the property to facilitate the development of a residential subdivision comprising 25 lots. The zoning will be changed from rural to various zones as outlined in further detail in the staff report to permit the establishment of single detached dwellings on each residential lot, to recognize and preserve existing natural heritage features in rural areas on the property, and also to permit the use of a stormwater management facility servicing the subdivision. A public meeting concerning application R0821 was held on June 20th, 2023, during which staff presented the proposed zoning regulations for council's consideration. The proposed zoning regulations have not changed since the public meeting. Since the public meeting, the subdivision file has received draft plan approval. The applicant is now in the process of clearing the conditions of draft plan approval, including condition 22, which requires that the land subject to the plan of subdivision application be rezoned to the satisfaction of the township. So zoning bylaw amendment file number R0821 has been submitted in fulfillment of condition 22 of draft plan approval. The proposed amendment meets the intent of provincial and municipal policies and is recommended for approval, subject to council's receipt of all comments related to the file and provided no objections are identified. It is further recommended that council proceed to pass the bylaw to enact the amendment during this evening's meeting. That's my report, and I'm happy to answer questions if council has any.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions of staff on the report? Seeing nothing, just looking for a motion then. Deputy Mayor Nelson, moving the recommendation. Councillor Watt will second that. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. There we go. Item 10.5, discretionary sewage system maintenance inspection program 2025 amendments, and that's over to you, Mr. Hellman.
Evening, Council. And before you have report 2025-15, which is an update on where staff is at in relation to the discretionary sewage system maintenance inspection program. Excuse me, and we're seeking, council's direction on the next steps. Councillor Landsman, I'm sure you've prior to be sworn in again, you've been following along with the township, but maybe just for your benefit, the rest of council and the public, we'll give a high level recap of maintenance inspection programs as they pertain to sewage systems. So in relation to the building code, there are two different types of maintenance inspection programs for sewage systems. There's a mandatory inspection program and a discretionary inspection program. The mandatory program is a provincial mandate, and the township has approximately 16 properties that are subject to that program. The properties are identified through provincial mapping and typically fall within our source water protection areas. Subject properties must have an inspection completed no longer than every 5 years. So sorry, like you can't have more than 5 years between inspections is what I'm trying to say. And the township's current inspection schedule for those mandatory systems are 2020, 2025, 2030, and so on. The other main inspection program is the discretionary sewage system maintenance inspection program. And this program allows council to choose what, if any, areas are to be subject to the maintenance inspection program. Currently, council has applied the program to shoreline properties abutting township identified water bodies, and the term water bodies as defined in the township zoning bylaw. So that defined term includes the lakes of Kachewanuka, Clear, Stony, Upper and Lower, and White. Staff have created a comprehensive sewage system maintenance inspection program, and we were able to implement it for the 2025 mandatory cycle. During that cycle, staff were able to further refine the program and understand the time associated with completing the administration and inspection portions of the program. That brings us to today. So during discussions about the discretionary sewage system maintenance inspection program at the May 6th regular council meeting, staff did receive a comment about an upper limit of $200 for the fee for administering the program. After implementing and refining the mandatory sewage system maintenance inspection program, the building department wants to make council aware that it will not be able to effectively administer the maintenance inspection program at full cost recovery for a fee of $200 per base inspection. In order to change the fees associated with the maintenance inspection program, staff will need to host a public meeting. Additionally, staff will need to amend the current building bylaw to accurately reflect the changes of the program and bring the amended bylaw before council to be voted on. Given the fact that the fee will be required to be in excess of $200 for full cost recovery, prior to preparing the documents for the public meeting and prior to completing the amendments to the current building bylaw, staff is requesting council's direction on how to proceed. Happy to answer any questions or further clarify what direction we're seeking on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hallinan. Council, over to you with questions. Councilor Lansman. That's fine.
Oh, sorry. I do have a couple of questions, if that's okay. Who will be, I did read your May 6th report. I did go back and, no, I hadn't seen it. How many, who will be doing the inspection? Staff or an outdoor? I just don't get along with the mic. Thanks, Terry. Who will be doing the inspection? Staff or an outside contractor?
Through the chair, Councillor Lansman, currently we haven't identified, we haven't committed to a format on that. We've looked into both having staff do it. So for the mandatory inspection, staff did complete the inspection. It would be what we would anticipate happening. However, there are third-party companies that would do them as well, and we can look to sourcing them. One of the fees that we had got from someone is to do just the inspection portion, so no administration with it or any of the other work, just to attend the site and report back. So we would still issue certificates and reports out of the department, was approximately $175 to $200 for the third-party engineering company.
Thank you. And I guess my other side of that question would be, do you plan to contact or get more information from outside contractors?
Through our research, or through the chair, sorry, Madam Mayor, sorry. Part of our research when we built the program was to reach out to other municipalities who've had it. We've had some mixed reviews on using third-party contractors. So we can reach out, but again, it would only be for the inspection purpose. The kind of the key to us was don't let go of the administration portion. The communication with the ratepayer is so vital to the success of this program and making sure that we can control that the idea is just having inspections. So we can reach out and like, if the time was to come, we can source that. But right now, like I say, the plan is to have in-house inspectors complete the work.
Thank you. May I, Madam Chair, ask one more question? In some of the paperwork I read, it said that there would be 2 people required to do it. In the past, there was only 1 person, and that's changed. For why? For what reason?
Through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Lansman. So what we noticed this year when we did the mandatory program, kind of 2 big things, if I can, I'll just go a little off script on this. We noticed 2 really big things that happened was if we didn't, prior to attending the site, communicate with the homeowner when we were attending, our first 5 inspections, they weren't prepared. They weren't ready. And unfortunately, what that would have and should do is they get an additional charge because of that. And so we don't want that to happen. So we now know, okay, we have to make sure that we communicate with them, let them know when we're coming, and actually kind of question them. Are the tanks done? You know, and get them kind of up to date because they received this information in March. So it is a bit for the homeowner to remember and all that. On top of that, one thing we noticed when we went to those inspections, once they were covered, is some of the lids were significantly buried in soil or far down for the inspectors to reach. We also noticed that there was there was a risk that to the inspector. If they're the only person on site, not only do we have a lifting issue with the concrete lids, but then we have a safety issue. And so because of those, we deemed it important enough to need 2 people. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean 2 Part 8 qualified inspectors need to attend, but we definitely believe that we need 2 parties on site. So whether that's a summer student who accompanies them or finding a way to staff that, but we do feel that it's important to have to 2 parties on site when we lift the lids and inspect the tank.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Landsman. Any other questions from council? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Don, approximately how many are in the zone 80E? I think that's what we're doing, isn't it? Zones 80E. How many approximate inspections would that be, and how many per year would we be doing out of that group?
Through the chair. There is, I apologize, Councillor Watt, I don't have that number in front of me, but I believe it's about 1,100 total properties. The current plan, depending on how we move forward, and again, we're still working this out, is we need to be mindful of the workload of the department. And so it's whether we ramp up to complete a lot of inspections in 1 year, or if we just kind of break them down into 10 equal zones, which would, I think, will have us about 100 per year. And that we're still just working out depending on workload and how we go about with the inspections. But I think my first thought is when we built the system is that we would run with a small number first, and similar that we had with the mandatory. Now, because we had the mandatory, we get a little lucky, where it's just to try to refine the program. Again, in our research, as we went through this, we talked to multiple municipalities who've done this, and the one thing they've cautioned us on is it's a fluid program. They're like, you're going to find that some things work, some things don't. And again, one of our recommendations will be only Class 4 systems. We have other municipalities who did all sewage systems, so that could include outhouses. And they would have reports back of like ripped screens on an outhouse and then have to go and issue letters over that. And we think that that's not the intent of what we're looking for our township. So again, we're trying to limit the scope to Class 4 only, which is like most people would think of filter beds or trench bed systems. And then again, trying to get it to run out first. And if we can, and we find the ability to ramp up, then we will. But we just want to make sure that we deliver the program effectively and efficiently. And so without biting off more than we can chew on year 1.
Councillor Watt, just before I come back to you, I did some quick math. It was 1138 was the number of properties in that high-risk waterfront area. Just to clarify, when you're talking about Class 4, those are like just the run-of-the-mill septic system that you'd be looking at as opposed to outhouses and holding tanks?
No, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I missed Class 5, holding tanks as well. So yes, the typical standard kind of system and holding tanks, so Class 4 and 5.
Okay,
My
and not
apologies.
ICI or including like any commercial institution? I'm thinking it's like probably there's nothing on the lake now that I say that out loud. but-
Yeah, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. At this stage, so we don't think that there's a difference in this. So those types of systems, Class 4 and 5, would work for residential or non-residential properties. We definitely don't regulate something that the MECP regulates, so a property that produces more than 10,000 liters a day. Everything else would be within our purview there, but kind of we wouldn't look towards outhouses and privy vaults and kind of gray water systems. We just don't think that there's a demand for those.
Okay, so then the 1138, in May, when you and staff were going through preparing the report and the various zones, the 1138 properties, I'm assuming you just looked at every property. There may not be actually 1138 Class 4 systems in theory, or did you kind of weed out vacant lots and what have you?
We did, through you, Madam Mayor, and we did weed out vacant lots. So we believe that number represents something that produces residential waste. Now, on an island, there is, I guess, a potential that there's no Class 4 system and only an outhouse. At that point, again, it's not part of what our recommendation would be for our inspection. Again, we would take direction from council if they wish that to be.
Okay, that's right. I just wanted to get those clarifications. Councillor Watt, sorry to jump in on that because I know it was kind of building on your question. Back over to you, sir.
Thank you, through you. Okay, I'm kind of betwixt and between on the 2 people thing because, I mean, you could go to 10 of them one day that are just property, this far underground, kind of like that, that's an easy to do and it doesn't take two people. Maybe if they were documented, you went today and there was one that's 3-4 feet down, whatever, then the next day you pick it up with a second person, but that's logistics to work out later. My other question would be on them is, yeah, no, I just drew a blank. I'll come back to it.
Sorry, I made you lose your train of thought. So I've got Councillor Johnston and then Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Yeah, now the holding tank, you said that, you'll be checking them? And they would fall into the same price category, whatever we come up with? Because I mean, there's no weeping tiles, no nothing else that they have to be concerned about. It's just a tank and as long as it's running into it.
Through the mayor. Yes, Councillor Johnson, our anticipation is it would fall under the same fee schedule. Probably first and foremost, the administration part of it would be the same for the department. And even realistically, the time involved in the inspection is the same, save and except for checking a baffle, but we would still want to open the tank, confirm that the levels are accurate, that there's not a leak in the tank, that the alarm's in place, which is some of the things that we may not have with a class 4 system. Also looking at whether the pump out agreement is in place. So all the things that the code requires. So though different, I think there's still the same amount of work.
And then the chair, the only other thing that I'm concerned about is the fee. And I'm not going to make a comment on the fee because I can't say I support it right now. But the bottom line is if we have a public meeting, we'll wait and hear what the public has to say about the fees. So I'm not worried about discussing that at this moment.
Thank you. I would normally say Deputy Mayor, but Councillor Watt has remembered his question. Do you mind, sir? Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. Don, I think, but I'm not sure. That's why I want to ask for the public. So we had an exemption on if someone had one put installed in the last X number of years, it was exempt from being tested this time. What was that time frame? Was it 5, 10?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it was 10 years, and we would have this, right now, the bylaw is written the same, and we don't propose any amendment to that clause.
Okay, thank you. Did we ever give any thought to, even though it's been 10 years, just kind of take a quick, you're not looking for tanks off or lids off or anything else like that, but just take a walk in, because I know I brought it up myself. It was put in 10 years ago, but that doesn't mean that the owners of that property, and I'm not trying to bash anybody, that really aren't up to date on how to look after a septic system. And I know that's going to be part of your next thing with some education on that. But, somebody could have one put in 5 years ago and then they planted a bunch of trees on top of the septic bed because it's nice, or they've driven over it all winter because it's a great parking spot, not realizing that wrecks their system kind of like that. So, is there any possibility of just maybe marking a few of them here and there that were within the 10 years and just kind of follow up on them, say, hey, are they being, landscape wise looked after properly?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Watt, I appreciate the comment. I think that we would have to amend that clause in the bylaw then and make sure that we do all septics, whether they have been installed within 10 years or not.
Any other questions on the report? Oh, Deputy Mayor, I'm sorry. Now I'm forgetful.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Just a comment I have that, and I think everybody knows how I felt about inspecting all of the septic systems throughout the township and the liability, but that didn't happen, and that's okay. But I have a concern now with people that are being inspected and the rest of the township subsidizing, if it's not at a full recovery cost, I don't believe all the rest of the township wants to pay for the people that are getting it inspected, and not, how is that fair for me as a taxpayer to have to pay for having their septic tank inspected or their septic system inspected? So that's my concern, and that's my comment. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. So I think what staff are looking for at this point in time is just direction, because the fees are higher than, or the proposed fees are higher than what was in the motion of $200 per inspection back on May 6th. you're looking for just some direction as to whether or not to continue on putting that program in place and moving forward with the steps. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, yes, that is correct. There's significant time and effort to amend the bylaw and get the system, the new program that we've built this way implemented properly, because we want it, it's Schedule B of our building bylaw, and we want it to be clear on what the expectations are, what's to happen. And then also then, yes, to go through the public process and host the public meeting. If council doesn't support that type of fee, that's why we're asking, is this something that council's asking us to still move forward on?
Certainly. Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Watt has a question, but I have a couple kind of in the same spirit of what's already been asked. In terms of the rollout and sending 2 people to the sites, you had mentioned in your comments earlier that you might either decide to ramp it up, slowly for year 1 and then go big, or just take 10 years to go through the 1,100 homes, roughly 100 a year, properties rather. What does that look like in practice if we're actually looking at only doing this once, and currently the bylaw has only 10 years you're exempt if you put something in new, and we're in year 6 and we're passing a zone that was done 11 years ago? Would those people be able to get in early on that so that they are exempt, or are we just rolling it out by zone? And I'm also just a little concerned on the staffing side of it, like how you're going to maintain continuity with the program. And lastly, I believe the mandatory inspections that were performed this year, there was probably no more than 20 properties impacted by that. So when you're saying a slow rollout like we did with the mandatory program, are you suggesting we're only doing 20 in 2026 possibly? So if you could get some clarification on that, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So our anticipation is to roll out, so we've made 10 zones. And the idea is to roll out 1 zone at a time. So about 100 to 110 properties will be inspected every year. If we find that there's capacity to do more, then the next year, so our current model, this is why we have to bring this to council for you to see, is our current model is only to identify the next year. So we will amend and we have all the zones marked, and we're only going to say, for instance, we're doing zone 1 in 2026, for instance. The zone 2 will not be listed with a year. It'll be to be determined. Zone 3, 4, like 210 will all be to be determined. And then we will be able to then say, okay, well, next year we're going to do zones, for instance, 3 and 4, or 3, 4, and 5. And so there's movement for the staff to then kind of gauge how we're going to roll this out 1 year in advance. So we do this in, for instance, in 25, we would select it. The messaging, the bylaw would be amended, and the messaging would go out at the start of 26. So people would get their initial notice that they're part of the sewage system maintenance inspection program for that year. And then the program just rolls out. So yes, it'd be 100. Our current model is 110 every year, but it allows us to scale up. We don't anticipate ever scaling below the 110. And again, that's where we look at staffing, and these are the things that we have to consider as we think about how do we move this program forward with in-house staff. External companies have talked about being able to do more than that, but again, we still have an internal administration portion that we have to be able to kind of wrap up for them in order to go do their inspections, and then we also have enforcement.
Understood. Thank you for that clarification. When will, assuming council moves forward with this evening, and before you bring the bylaw forward, I would think, like, when will council have an opportunity to actually see that rollout plan in writing and have input into that rollout plan? Because personally, I think taking 10 years to roll it out is far too much time. And I understand we're putting, it's that game of, not game, but like shifting resources and priorities. But I know the original proposal did the whole township over 10 years at an average of 300 properties per year. I don't recall if we hired specifically for that, for people to do that work. And I know the face of the program has changed, but I'm just concerned that over 10 years, people move, things happen, all things are happening. It's very fluid. So I don't know how we can maintain continuity for programs. So my question, I guess, is how are we going to have input in that or seeing that proposal come forward so that we can have input on that?
Madam Mayor, it is intended to come forward as part of the amendment to the bylaw at the same as the fees, would come forward in the public meeting. So the idea is, yeah, we would lay that program out at that time, and give how the programs to operate. The initial plan is not, most municipalities don't get into I'm going to say the nitty gritty of how the program operates, but you asked about continuity, and we've created guidelines, for when, so we issue, just not to get too far off track, but we issue 3 different types of two reports and 1 certificate. And the idea would be is if it's a green and it's all good, it's a certificate, good to go. The other 2 would be reports. One would be is that they need to look at some stuff, and the other is, one is they should look at some stuff, and the other is they need to look at some stuff. And that part of the program is through an internal guideline that we use in the building department, but it's not one that would be brought before council. It's how we go about with the education and enforcement and the administration of the program. This would be only, just on the timelines and rollouts and what to expect as far as a letter will be sent by this date. We will, by X day, we will tell council and the public what zones are being inspected. And then we will be issuing a letter by this date. We will be expecting a questionnaire back by this date, and we'll be doing our inspections through these months. And that's kind of the scope of the project when it comes to Schedule B of the building bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Watt?
Thank you. Don, I know I've brought this up with building inspections and stuff like that, contacting people. Like with the way our mail is, when you mail out a notice saying, hey, you're gonna get done here like that, and they don't get it for whatever reason, they don't get it, and then all of a sudden they're penalized, another $225 or whatever like that, because they haven't received the stuff, they haven't returned the questionnaire, they haven't done it. I think if we don't have questionnaires back within 2 weeks of their inspection time, I think a phone call should be made to contact them. And I know we've had problems right here in the village, contacting someone, for a certain issue and stuff like that, that's taken forever. So, that could happen all up along Lakeshore, especially with cottagers and so on and so forth. So I think there should be a second caveat in there, not just sending out that questionnaire to get done, and saying this is when, set it up. Somebody physically has to talk to someone that hasn't returned their thing, like I say, within maybe a couple of weeks of the inspection.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Watt, I appreciate again the comment, and I think when we saw the mandatory inspection program and we realized that when we attended the site, so we gave a date and we said we'll attend between these dates. And when we attended we found that the property wasn't ready for inspection, and so then we knew we must contact that person. So for that, I think we've seen that and we've done that. The challenge we have on the questionnaire, if I may, is we don't have contact information other than mailing addresses. So I hope council could understand, we have a property information. It's really tax billing information is what we have. So it's the property owner, and we send them mail and we say, we need this questionnaire back. If they don't send the questionnaire to us, we really have no other way to contact them except by mail, unless it's proposed through council door-to-door visits. But I appreciate, we do want to call, and we do call when it comes to the inspection, because we've received their questionnaire back and they've told us how to contact them, and we contact them that way. But prior to the questionnaire, we'd have no way other than mail. Is that fair?
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, council, lots of good questions. What do we want to do with the report and the recommendation? Looking for a motion. Staff needs some direction on whether or not to bring a bylaw forward or not. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'm going to make a motion that we proceed on to the next step. Council's going to see this again in the near future, or in the future, whatever like that, before it's all set up. But, take the next step, bring us back a bylaw, bring us back a list of the steps like the mayor spoke to and said, how do we know this is going to happen? What's going to happen? That type of thing like that. And have that to us. Maybe even before the public meeting. No, I guess we can't do that before the public meeting because we have to have in the bylaw the fee also, whatever. But I'd like to see what the mayor asked for ahead of that time frame, just and how you spelled out how things proceed, whatever, what happens, what goes on, what doesn't. You could explain it a little better than I have because you're the one that said it. But I would like to see that ahead of time and then come back after the public meeting with the bylaw. So that's my motion, is to come back with a report first on the hows, what's and whys that the mayor spelled out, and then have the public meeting, come back with the bylaw.
Okay. Does anyone want to second that motion?
Through the chair, I'll second the motion, but like I say, my main thing is to have that public meeting, because 2 or 3 things that were mentioned here, they'll all come out in the public meeting. They'll be telling you how to get a hold of them and one thing or another. But people will have, they have a lot of concerns now, so they'll spill the beans when they. So I think the main thing is that we should have that public meeting sooner than anything.
Okay, so the motion that Councillor Watt made was that that staff come forward with a report on the rollout plan, and then the public meeting to follow with the bylaw at a separate meeting. Is that your motion? So are you seconding that, Councillor Johnston? I just want to make sure what you're saying seems to be in
Well,
conflict.
not really, because I don't want.
So you're not
I don't
seconding the
want them to come
motion?
out first, I want to have a public meeting first, then we can put everything together.
Okay, so that's not the motion that's on the floor right now. I'm looking for somebody to second the motion that's on the floor. Does anyone want to second the motion that Councillor Watt made? Okay, so that motion is not made. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll
Councillor
make
Johnston?
the motion to the chair here. I'll make the motion that we have a public meeting to discuss all the issues that could come forward. Then we will put our pieces together. And
Okay,
come up with a fee and everything at that time.
okay, Councillor Johnson, I believe the public meeting that Mr. Hellman is referring to is a public meeting to update the building bylaw. The fee, sorry.
Madam Mayor,
the
it's
fee.
the fees or the mandate, so we can host a public meeting whenever council sees fit. We must host a public meeting to update the fees.
So, Councillor?
On that, I understand what you're saying. We need it for the fee, but I think we need it for a lot of other issues. So, yes, the fee would be one of the most important thing, but I think the public meeting also would be there for addressing the fee, what they're getting out of the fee and how they propose penalties and all that. So I think that needs to come out at the public meeting. So we do the public meeting, we do the fee and other issues.
Okay, so we will do that in one public meeting. That's your motion. And then we bring a rollout program forward, a rollout, depending on the outcome of that meeting. Okay. So that's the motion. Does anyone want to second that motion? I'm not seeing any seconders on this. Councillor Landsman? You can ask a question. Just make sure your mic's on, please.
Tape it to my forehead. Through the chair to Councillor Johnson. Could you just once again repeat what criteria because somewhere along the line, I would like to know exactly what's going to happen. Not that they're going to come out with a plan and then have a public meeting and then discuss the rates. Okay.
Mr. Davis.
Through the chair, back to, I'm going to answer on behalf of Councillor Johnson. I apologize. Back to Councillor Landsman. So I believe what you're asking for is if we bring forward or we have a public meeting where we bring the fee forward, which we have proposed today, or which we anticipate today will be $275. So we're going to have what our proposal as staff is that we would host a public meeting that would serve as the public meeting around the fee. And as part of the report for that public meeting, we'll talk about what's part of the program.
In that case, I will second the motion.
And Councillor Johnston, is that, you're comfortable with that? Okay. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Before I call the vote, I just, I have questions on this. The public meeting for the fee to update the fees in the building bylaw, I understand. To have feedback from the public on the program, I think we need to be careful how far we go down this path. I mean, I certainly welcome feedback from the public, but this is something that we've had lots of feedback from the public over time. And this is why we're this is why we're at where we're at with this report and with this program. So, I caution council about, what that looks like and their individual commitment to either moving forward with this program or not moving forward with this program, because there's a lot of staff resources that are in this and time resources of our own in this already to try to get it to this point. So, I mean, I support the motion to have a public meeting. It's necessary. It's feedback from the community, but I also caution that we try and keep it specific to the current proposed program that this council asked staff to bring a report back forward on May 6th. So the program as it's written from A through E of those zones in particular, not the rest of the township, is really in question at this point. And the current bylaw, which is suggesting 10 years, an exemption for people who haven't had their systems installed, unless there's further direction from council this evening to change that. But really the public feedback should be from those who are impacted by it specifically and around the fees directly. So I do support the motion, but I'm just cautious that it could become a little more unwieldy than that and really reset it again, potentially. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing nothing, all in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to item 10.6, the public outreach for the sewer system maintenance, and that's back over to you, Mr. Hellman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council, before you is report 2025-16, and it's regarding the public outreach portion for the sewage system maintenance, or for sewage system maintenance, sorry. Resolution 130-2025 directed staff to review options on offering in-person workshops on sewage system maintenance. Staff has reached out and confirmed with the Ontario On-Site Wastewater Association, known as UA, that they will present at a township-hosted event. Their presentation will focus on sewage system basics for rural and waterfront property owners. The presentation is approximately 45 minutes in length and would have a question and answer period at the end. The cost associated with the presentation alone would not exceed $200, but there would be additional costs for any physical resources the township would want. And so in my report, there's a list of physical resources that we can have printed and available for the public. And again, so staff's just seeking council's input on how they'd like to proceed, and some of the considerations that we'd be kind of looking for is potentially the time of year that they'd want us to have. Staff believes that between May and July would be a good time of year for this, when our population numbers grow, and also when we talk about the discretionary sewage system maintenance inspection program being waterfront properties. Again, we'll have those most of those residents up at that time. And then the other thing would be if you have, I know at one time it was discussed about locations. It was discussed maybe moving locations or having multiple locations throughout the township, maybe, one in Douro, one in Dummer. And just looking for a bit of direction on what council would like to do with that. And then what we can do is bring costs forward as part of our 2026 budget and give some advice on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hellman. Any questions of staff on the report? I have Councillor Watt and then Councillor Johnston.
Thanks, Don. And yes, we did discuss that. Everything's, I like the timeframes because you're going to catch cottagers. And this is going to be a lot of what's going to be, because it's going to be waterfront property is going to get done. I would myself, and Councillor Johnson brought this up before, having multiple ones, and I know I don't want to steal your thunder, but I would love to see one at Crow's Landing. I'd like to see another one, maybe Camp Kawartha, within a week or two, stuff like that. And then a third one at maybe our Douro Arena. But I would like at least 3 anyway, and I would like some brochures, stuff like that. I don't want to send them out because that costs us a fortune, but I would like to have different things there for people to take and have the 3 anyway. But those are the 3 locations I would like, we'd have to ask Camp Kawartha if we could actually do that. But something down towards Young's Point more than, but Crow's Landing, Young's Point, and one in the Douro Arena.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, to the chair, I echo what Tom says. I do think we need to have different places. And I would like to see that we do have brochures to be given out free. The one that's for $1, I think, is the one that I would prefer. Now, saying that, Um, and something else in my mind. No, I'm in favor of what was main comment that we would go ahead and have various places and do it as soon as we can.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Any questions? Councillor Lansman, with your microphone, please.
Thank you. To you, Madam Mayor, to your comment about, or sorry, I guess it's through you, to Ray's comment. You said as soon as possible? Yeah, I just think that if it could be closer to the cottage season, you might get a better attendance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? I don't think we have a motion at this point in time. If somebody wants to make a motion. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I will make a motion that we proceed with at least 3. And, depending on location, I'll leave that up to Dawn to come up with locations. But, that's kind of the way I'd like to see it spread out, 2 along the waterfront and then 1 inland, even though the inspections are going to be along the waterfront. And as Councillor Johnson said, go with the homeowners brochure for $1, have lots of them there. And let's engage the OOWA to come out and give us a hand.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Does anyone want to second that motion? Councillor Lansman, any discussion on the motion?
I get one. Just
Councillor
one
Johnson?
question. Don, did you, it said in there that they would do it free? Or what, I heard you say $200 or $100, whatever.
Through you, Madam Mayor. It's posted as free, but they do, expect might be the wrong word, but an honorarium for the presenter. So that's why we put a fee associated with it, but I know that they publish it's free of charge, so we didn't want to, as much as it is free, that, it is anticipated that there'd be an honorarium.
So through the chair, the only thing I'm saying is that 3 times might have to see what they will be charging us.
It certainly is a far cry shortage from the, I think, $8,000 to $10,000, which was originally proposed in May for doing some sort of education and public outreach. So even if it's $600, I think we're okay with that. And maybe even a little more for some coffee and donuts for those sessions too. Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor that's been moved and duly seconded. All in favor? And that motion carries. On to our procurement update, and that is being presented by our CAO and acting treasurer, Mr. Davis.
Through the mayor to the members of council, good evening. This report, Treasurer 25-24, regarding the procurement update is to be received or is being provided to you for information. We have 2 notable procurements I'd like to bring to your attention this evening. First of all, procurement 25-03, 2025-PR-2025-03, the supply and delivery of picnic tables. So I would note that we went out to market for picnic tables with a budget of $12,000. What we've presented for you today is, while it's higher than the lowest bid, it delivers the most amount of picnic tables, which would include 7 steel picnic tables and 2 accessible picnic tables, which I think was pretty good. Secondarily, the second procurement I'd like to draw your attention to is ADM-2025-01, building condition assessments for facilities. This was also a budgeted project, and it is in support, much like the roads need study that came to fruition this evening with the report to council. The work that would be done on this project is to support the the next stage of the asset management planning. We have an understanding of what it's going to cost to maintain our roads over the next decade. This gives us the opportunity to understand the lifespan and how we would maintain our buildings over that same period of time. I will say we went through, we had a lot of response to that procurement. The winning bid is from Buildings Science Advisory, Inc. And they were deemed qualified to complete the project. along with all the other ones that were included in the mix. There was a wide range of responses and prices. They had the highest evaluation score that included the lowest cost, and so therefore that a project was awarded. Both of those projects are under $50,000, therefore they don't require council to give us direction, but you are to be informed, and this is me informing you, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks very much, Mr. Davis. Any questions from council? Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, to the chair, I'd like to follow the recommendation and we'll receive this information.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive. Does anyone want to second that? Deputy Mayor Nelson, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to service delivery review, building and planning, and that's back over to you, Mr. Davis.
Good evening, council. So this report, CAO-2025-19, is regarding the service delivery report. This is in response to the August 5th notice of motion that directed staff to engage a third-party consultant to review the process for building and planning in Douro-Dummer. I bring forward at tonight's report that provides a draft of the request for proposal document and a request for 2026 pre-budget approval of $40,000 to do this service delivery review. The process as proposed by staff includes background work, public engagement, analysis, and reporting back to council. I would note that, and I note in the report that in the draft, you would notice in the draft RFP that we did not focus significantly on economic development at this time. And I say that because we are awaiting or anticipating a report from Peterborough County Economic Development related to their strategic planning work and collaborative framework work that will outline some of the services that are going to be provided by Peterborough County to the lower township. And so having a third-party consultant give us advice as to how we might deliver those services at this point is probably a little bit premature, and we may be assisted by some of the Peterborough County work. What I will say is we're anticipating at the Economic Development Advisory Committee at the end of this month, collaborative framework will be brought forward, and it will probably come to county council shortly thereafter. And so what I would suggest is if there was some area that we needed to include economic development into this RFP, would give us a great opportunity to do that before. Really why I'm in front of you today is that in order to get this project started, I need some money. To do that, we anticipate our work. We've talked to neighboring jurisdictions that have done some of this work. We've talked to consultants that do this work. We anticipate that $40,000 is the appropriate amount of money. It is already included in my draft 2026 budget. I just would like to get started before 2026 starts, recognizing how important this project is to this council. So that's simply why I'm in front of you today, to seek your approval to move forward. I've given you sort of a overview of what the draft is. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Questions from council? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To our CAO, actually, you just said, that there's going to be public engagement. There's going to be, the different things. I think there also be a caveat in there to have individual counsel, because we get a lot of the stuff too that, and that may have been in there, but I just want to make sure that it is in there, that they're going to, whoever gets this bid wins the RFP, that, all council is also involved in the comments and questions.
Through the chair back to Councillor Watt, I did note in the public engagement section of the RFP that it would include interviews with council as well as a plan for public engagement.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Whenever you're ready, Madam Chair, I'll move the motion.
I think we're ready because I see no more questions. So you're moving the recommendation as
Yeah.
written?
Yes, I am,
Okay.
Madam Mayor, sorry.
Councillor Lansman's going to second that. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Johnston?
So the motion is for pre-budget approval? Okay, just let people know what the motion is. All right.
I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to committee minutes and other reports. There's none. We do have some items under correspondence, action items, 2 items from the Douro-Dummer local taxpayers. We've got 12.1.1 concerns regarding grants received versus actuals. Council, what would you like to do with that? Councillor Watt.
I'd like to receive with thanks and have a little discussion on if I could, please.
Okay, so you'll speak to the motion if it's seconded. Does anyone want to second the motion to receive? Councillor Landsman, and then back over to you, Councillor Watt.
Thank you. And we do appreciate getting these reports, stuff like that. And, you know, it's like a watchdog keeping on top of stuff like that. Grants and actual stuff like that. A couple of things in there that I thought about and went over quite a bit. We have, one of the questions in there was about like we put money in the budget for upcoming projects, but we don't have the grant yet, kind of like that. But we can't play behind the scenes. Like if and I'll use our Douro arena floor, for instance, like that. So that's like let's say a $2.5 million project. But we said right outright, we've got a budget for it because we have to get it done only if we get the grant. Well, we did get the grants and I was in there, but if we had not got that grant, we said we were not going to go ahead with the project. So it's one of those things that, yes, it's in there in the budget, but it's a caveat that we have to cover ourselves for these type of things coming up. And it doesn't always happen, you know, the right way, stuff like that, but I mean, it does happen and that's why we put them in there. And the other thing that I've been hit up a couple of times on is grant money that we received. Oh, you know, where did it go? Who's got it? And I don't like to say that right, but is somebody lining their pockets with grant money, stuff like that? Well, no, every time we get a grant, let's say we get $100,000 to do a job, every nickel has to be documented on where it went, when it went, how it went, to who it went. And if we have 10 cents left over, it has to be another document filled out that it has to go back to who we got the grant from. And we have certain time frames to get these things done. It's not, nobody's filling their pockets, nobody's doing like that. And I just don't like hearing that kind of stuff. So that's how I'd like to end the conversation on that one. And I see our CAO has a comment.
Mr. Davis.
Just to support, so through the chair to the rest of the council, just to support what Councillor Watt has said, I would like to make 2 comments. One, first and foremost, oftentimes in a budget, especially around capital projects that have grants attached or the potential for grants attached to them, one of the things I think that the nuances that are not necessarily picked up by the public, Councillor Watt, is that oftentimes funding for those projects come from current capital reserves that we already have in hand. So we acknowledge the fact that we're going to make that application for the grant and that the funding source is not on the levy necessarily, but maybe from the capital reserve. And with the caveat that if we were unsuccessful in receiving the companion grant funds necessary, that we would not take the money out of the reserve to pay for that work. We might continue to accrue that reserve, recognizing that if that project needs to be done, like the reality is the arena floor is going to need to be replaced. If we did not receive the grant for it, we might not have been able to afford to do it this year, but we recognize that we would have to do it at some point in the future. And so we may continue to accrue a reserve, very similar to how we're going about the process. If you think about funding a public works fire station, you know, when we recognize that we do not have the capacity or the ability in this community to demand $12 million at this point from the ratepayers to pay for a new fire station, we have to plan for it over a series of years, which means that we put away a percentage of our budget every year into a reserve that gives us the ability then, when it's time to make that purchase, we have the funds in hand. Secondarily, I want to also highlight the comment related to grants. And I recognize, so for example, and I'm going to use the most current grant that we received, that announcement that was just recently made this summer related to the arena floor and the grant for $1 million from the provincial government to support our application or to support this work that we're being done. And the expectation is that the township is going to bring 50 cents for every dollar that I believe the province is spending to the table at the same time. When the province makes or a higher level of government makes an announcement that they are funding us to do this type of work, they don't send us, there's no giant check or they don't send the money in advance. Oftentimes what the responsibility is that we do the work and report that to the the granting body. And then once the work is completed and we've shown them the bill and they've deducted what we're responsible for, we get our check in return. So if we say that the project's $2 million and the maximum amount of money that the province is going to provide us is $1 million, of that. If the project is in fact $1.8 million to be completed, the province would only send us 900,000. They wouldn't send us the full million. We don't get the 100,000 to do with as we choose. We actually just get what's related. In the same vein, if we plan for a $2 million project, then the cost of actually delivering that project is $2.5 million. The province commits $1 million. When we go back to them and say, oh, by the way, the bill is $2.5 million now, they don't send us a check for $1.25 million. They send us a check for $1 million, and we, the township, are then responsible for the balance. So we get up to 50 cents off, or depending upon what the funding formula is. If we don't spend the full amount of money, we don't get the extras, and if we go over, we have to pay for it out of our own pocket. I hopefully that provides some clarification to council on those two.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Just want to make sure, Councillor Watt, we've got a motion on the table that was seconded by Councillor Landsman. You were making some comments, you're done with those comments on that? Okay, Deputy Mayor, you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to actually make a couple comments, just as my colleague, Mr. Watt, had talked about being involved in many applications prior with the township. I can assure you, when we get them grants, the paperwork to send back, that the reporting that we have to send back to the provincial government is astronomical. I know on a grant, for example, that we got for the 12th line down there, I believe I filled out probably 5 different reports myself, and the help of a secretary, or one of the girls helped me. And I believe the time that was involved in that was probably about a month's work of just assuring the government that we spent the money where we spent it. So when people are, I for one, I just want to make a comment to the public and to people that think that this is, I don't know, funds are being missing, or I've heard all kinds of stuff in the past. And I can assure you, if you believe that, we have accountants that does an annual accounting of our books. And if there's something missing, I can assure you they will find it and come out and tell the public that. So when we do have our audits on a yearly basis, that's there. And if somebody from the public thinks that there's missing funds, we also have an ombudsman. An ombudsman can do an accounting on any of them funds or any of the township. So there is a way for the public to actually find out what is going on. So I'm very discouraged when I hear that from people accusing, I'll just say staff, and it was staff that I heard them comments that funds were missing. So anyways, I wanted to put that out there, plain and clear, that you have a process. There's a process that you don't have to take my word for it. You can call the ombudsman, and he will do an investigation and get to the bottom of that. So that's my comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and now Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, the only comment I have is that this information will be taken to our new treasurer, where they can again follow up and reassure us that these funds are being met and put into the right category when they are developed to us. So I'm just saying that the information will be sent forth to our new treasurer.
Thank you for that. So we do have a motion that's on the floor. I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries on to correspondence item 12.1.2, complaint to council regarding accounts. What would you like to do with this piece of correspondence? Councillor Johnston.
Again, I would like to see more about this. And again, I think we need to wait till we have our next person in place on the finance that we can go over these items, because they are something that maybe has been skipped in the last few years, because there was a time that we did see it, all these finances. So it hasn't been in this term, but I think maybe it wasn't last term. And I do think that we need to see why they're not, the accounts aren't there. So all I'm saying is that we have to wait till the new person's in place where we can come up and finalize this.
Okay, so are you making a motion to receive that then, or? Or maybe you're not making a motion, maybe you're just
No,
making a comment. I don't want to put words in your
I
mouth.
want to hear some more discussion.
Okay, Councillor Watt.
Motion to receive and forward to our new finance person when they're hired.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive. Does anyone want to second that motion? Councillor Lansman will second that. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Watt.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, I was trying to think back, and I know the accounts, we used to get a spreadsheet every, I think maybe once a month it was under things, and it gave us all the department, the line by line almost, whatever like that. And I remember the discussion coming up, and I think it was Paul, when Paul first started, about actually how much benefit it really was to council to get that, rather than, if there was something major come up, the finance would come and tell us about it like that. And I seem to remember myself saying, hey, you know what, I don't mind if we don't have them anymore. If it's not really, it doesn't benefit me any, because I don't know enough about finance to do that. It may benefit someone else, and I believe at that particular time, we decided as a council to not receive them anymore, plus, and even if it's in the procedural bylaw, it doesn't mean that it has to be in one of our council meetings. I mean, it's just like bylaws. I mean, it's in a procedural bylaw, but we don't have bylaws every night, kind of like that. So it's a blank thing, whatever. Just because it's in there, we don't have to have them. But I believe I did make that comment, made that motion that we wouldn't take them anymore. But I'd have to go back through a lot of minutes and meetings to find that for sure. But I just want to say, like, if council wants them back in, that's fine, but I at that particular time, that's why they're not in there right now, because I'm 98% sure I'm the one that said, well, let's not put them in anymore, and if it comes down the road that we do want them back in, we can.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Watt, any other discussion on the motion? Oh, Councillor Watt.
I do have one other discussion on the reports here that we have from this group. And I think it's in this one, but maybe in the previous one, but I apologize if it was. The question about auditors. And I know we have a bylaw, some procedure or whatever, that we have to go out to tender for, I think it's every 5 years or whatever it is, like a, so, and yes, we do know that, but in this particular instance, when we got 3 years, 4 years behind in our audits because of circumstances with our previous treasurer with sickness and stuff like that, we did fall behind. So we made a decision to, let's not jump from one to the next and, play willy-nilly and worry about it. Let's get these ones caught up to date to the 2024, and then going forward, for the 2025 audit and so on. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, we will be going out to tender for that particular job to do that. So, and if someone else would like to speak on it, our CAO probably has a handle on that, but I do want to say that that's why we didn't, I know we are past the 5 years, but yes, we were playing catch up, and it was a lot easier to do those audits with the same person just falling on the next year, the same company, rather than try and jump from one and back to another.
And Mr. Davis, a comment on that, please?
Sure, through the mayor to the rest of council. I can confirm that we are coming to a close on the 2024 audit, which gets us up to date. We anticipate that the auditors to come forward in the not too distant future with a presentation to council and some reporting. We do also anticipate that prior to the end of this year or in very early January of next year, we will go to market to procure new auditor, or we'll go to market and see what we can get for auditing service.
Thank you very much for that. So we do have a motion that's on the floor. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to our bylaws, item 13. What's this one again? Oh, this is the zoning bylaw from the item earlier. Just looking for a motion on that. Councillor Watt, seconded by,
Motion to approve the bylaw.
yep, seconded by Councillor Johnston. Any discussion? All in favor? That carries. We have no reports. Are there any notices of, sorry, no reports from previous notices of motions? Are there any notices of motion? Seeing nothing, any announcements? Announcement. Nothing. We have no closed session, our confirming bylaw. Deputy Mayor Nelson makes the motion, seconded by Councillor Landsman. All in favor? That motion carries. And our next meetings, we have an unconventional meeting, a road tour on September 23rd. Council's going to be jumping aboard a vehicle of sorts and checking it, a bus, okay? Horse and buggy, I don't know. We're going to be jumping on a bus and going through the township to look at some of our roads. And then our next formal council meeting is a regular meeting on October 7th. Just a motion to adjourn. Councillor Johnston, second by Councillor Watt, all in favor. And that motion carries. Have a good night, everyone.